Hello and welcome. This is Fluent Mind Stories. And tonight, you're about to experience something gentle, simple, and quietly powerful. You chose to listen. You chose stillness instead of noise, and that choice already sets you apart. If you're lying down, settle your body. If you're sitting, let your shoulders drop. Let your breath soften just a little, in and out. No rush, no pressure, just presence. Very soon, you may drift off, and that's okay. This story works whether you stay awake or slip gently into sleep. Your mind keeps listening even when your eyes are closed. Your brain is still active, still curious, still learning. Tonight, you'll follow the quiet journey of someone like you. Someone who tried and struggled and almost gave up. Until something changed. Her name was Emma. And at the time this story begins, Emma did not feel confident. She did not feel talented. She did not feel proud of her English. She felt stuck, as though she lived behind a glass wall, hearing the world clearly, but unable to step through and join it. She woke up one calm Tuesday morning in November feeling tired. Not sleepy tired, mind tired, soul tired. 7 years of English study, 7 years of flashcards, grammar videos, and vocabulary lists. She could understand almost everything she read. She could write decent emails, but speaking, real conversations, fast dialogue, jokes, expressions, moments where she needed to think and respond quickly, her mind froze. Her tongue froze. Her thoughts floated in another language entirely, unable to bridge the gap. She felt slow, behind, always translating, always too late. That morning, she sat alone at her small kitchen table, hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, staring at the rising steam like it might give her answers. Outside, the city moved. Cars hummed. People rushed. Life happened. And Emma felt still, stuck in time, watching others move ahead. She worked at an international company. Her reports were excellent. Her performance reviews praised her detail, her dedication, her accuracy. Yet each time a promotion came around, it slipped through her fingers like water. Communication skills, they said. English confidence, they said. We need someone who can represent us internationally. Emma didn't resent the people who succeeded. She just wondered why she couldn't break through. She wondered why it felt so much harder for her. She finished her coffee slowly, letting the last sip linger like a quiet promise that tomorrow would be different. But tomorrow always felt out of reach. Later that evening, after another long meeting where she remained silent, Emma searched online again. How to improve spoken English fast. Why do I freeze when speaking English? How to stop feeling nervous in English. Meetings advice repeated itself. Practice every day. Speak without fear. Think in English. Watch movies. Take classes. Find speaking partners. She sighed. She was tired. Tired of trying to fit more into her day. Tired of feeling like fluency required burning herself out. She was about to close the browser when a headline whispered from the bottom of the screen. Learn English while sleeping. Science and experience. She blinked. The idea sounded strange. Too simple, too easy, maybe even foolish. But she clicked. The article explained memory consolidation, subconscious recognition, sound patterns, slow repetition during light sleep stages. Not magic, not overnight fluency, just gentle reinforcement, a quiet support system for the brain, and something inside her relaxed. Not excitement, not disbelief, just curiosity, she thought. What if learning didn't always need to feel heavy? What if I could rest and improve at the same time? That night, Emma placed her phone beside her bed, chose a soft English story podcast, lowered the volume until it felt like a whisper, and lay down. She didn't expect success. She didn't expect miracles. She simply closed her eyes and let the gentle English voice drift through the room like a warm breeze. Soft narration. Slow pacing. Simple sentences. Kind tone. Soon she slept, and while she slept, English continued, flowing gently through her subconscious like water carving smooth stone. Bit by bit, night by night. In the morning, Emma woke to silence. She felt the same. No sudden fluency. No dramatic transformation. She stretched, made coffee, got ready for work, lived her day, and that night she did it again. Not because she believed, but because it was easy. Night after night, English whispered in the background of her dreams. Sometimes she heard a word half awake. Sometimes she heard nothing at all. But consistency took root without force. 1 week passed. 2 weeks, 3. Life continued quietly. Small moments shifted, tiny things most people would ignore. Answering an email faster, understanding a phrase instantly instead of translating it, hearing herself think a short thought in English without trying. A spark. Just a spark. But sparks matter. Then one day during a meeting, someone asked her opinion unexpectedly. Her heart jumped, ready to panic, ready to freeze. But instead she inhaled softly, and words came out. Not perfect, not rehearsed, simply present, available, real. Everyone understood her. No one rushed to rephrase. No one filled the silence. Her voice belonged in the room. That is where Emma's change began. Not as a dramatic explosion, but as a quiet shift, a subtle click inside her mind. She didn't know it yet, but her brain was adapting. It was learning in the background, night after night, without pressure, without stress. And soon she would begin to trust herself again. To speak again, to believe again. For now, breathe. Feel your body soften a bit more. Let the day fall away. Let the story drift in the background of your awareness. You are safe here. You are learning gently. Your brain is listening, even in stillness. And in the next chapter, Emma's quiet progress will become something more. Something slow, steady, and real. Let's continue soon. Rest. Listen. Float. Emma didn't talk about her new habit to anyone. There was no announcement. No goal tracker. No dramatic promise to change her life. It was simply something she did, like brushing her teeth, like setting her alarm. Small, soft, routine, and despite its simplicity, tiny things kept shifting. She started waking up with more calm, a little less heaviness in her chest, a little less fear in her voice when she practiced speaking quietly to herself before work. It wasn't confidence, not yet. It was something earlier than confidence, something gentler. A fragile belief that improvement might still be possible. And belief is often where everything begins. One morning, 3 weeks after she started, Emma sat in a quiet office corridor waiting for a meeting. She heard 2 colleagues talking nearby. Fast English, full of casual expressions, inside jokes, natural rhythm. Normally her brain would panic, rushing to translate, afraid to miss something. But this time was different. She didn't catch every word. She didn't suddenly become fluent. But the sounds didn't feel foreign. They didn't feel like noise. For the first time, English felt like a river, something she could step into instead of watching from the bank. Later that afternoon, something small happened. Someone laughed at a joke in the break room, and Emma understood it. Not fully, but enough to naturally smile at the right time. It was nothing. A tiny moment. But to her, it was everything. She didn't feel outside anymore. She didn't feel like she was fighting English. She felt like she was beginning to belong to it. That night, she lay in bed thinking about these small changes as the soft voice of her sleep audio washed over her again. I don't know if this is working, she whispered into the dark. But something feels different. And she soon drifted off, English humming gently like background light. Weeks passed like quiet footsteps. Soft repetition night after night. Some days she noticed change. Most days she didn't, and yet, underneath, her brain kept learning. Little neural threads connecting. Memory stitching itself together. Confidence growing in the dark, like roots beneath soil. Until one morning, something unexpected happened. She arrived at work early. The office was quiet. Only one other colleague was there, a new hire from another country. He sat at his desk looking frustrated, staring at an English email he didn't quite understand. He rubbed his forehead, defeated. Emma recognized that feeling. The loneliness of not understanding, the quiet frustration of wanting to speak but unsure how. She approached slowly, nervous as always, then asked, "Do you want help?" Her voice trembled slightly, but the sentence was smooth, natural, untranslated. The colleague looked up, grateful and relieved. "Yes," he said, "please." I don't know how to reply. Emma sat beside him. They read the message together. She explained what it meant, gently, patiently, and together they wrote a response. When they finished, he smiled warmly. "Thank you, really. You saved me." Emma walked back to her desk quietly, heart full. She didn't freeze. She didn't doubt. She didn't apologize for her English. She helped someone, in English. And she felt capable. That evening, after work, She walked through the city slowly, letting the cool air fill her lungs. Lights flickered in windows. People hurried past. Somewhere a musician played a soft tune on the street, and Emma realized something important. Her problem had never been English itself. Her problem was fear. Fear of mistakes. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. But every night she listened as she slept, the fear loosened its grip just a little more. Not because she was studying hard, but because she was simply living with English, gently and consistently. Her brain didn't feel at war with the language anymore. It felt like it was slowly making peace with it. 2 months passed, then came the moment everything shifted. Her manager announced an international collaboration meeting him and asked if anyone wanted to lead the presentation. For a second, the room was silent. Then, before she had time to think or doubt or freeze, Emma heard herself say, "I can lead." The room turned toward her. Not surprised, curious. Her manager nodded. "That would be great. Thank you." And just like that, it was real. A few days later, she sat in her apartment preparing, reviewing slides, reading notes, practicing sentences softly. And that night, she didn't listen to vocabulary or stories. She played a calm recording of a confident voice presenting clearly in English, as if she was already doing it perfectly, not studying. Just sleeping beside possibility. When morning came, she felt nervous, but steady. No shaking hands, no racing thoughts. Just quiet energy, like standing at the beginning of a long-awaited path. The meeting began. Faces appeared on the screen from different countries, different accents, different rhythms. Emma inhaled slowly and spoke, clear, calm, present, not perfect. Not fast, but real, capable, good. When the call ended, her manager said, "That was excellent." "Well done." Emma closed her laptop, leaned back, and exhaled. A long, soft breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She wasn't fluent. She wasn't finished, but she was changing. And for the first time in her life, she felt in motion, not stuck. Becoming, not waiting. That night, she fell asleep quickly, peaceful and proud, English flowing around her like soft night wind, and far beneath the surface of her dreams. Her brain continued learning quietly, rewiring, adapting, growing, just like yours is doing now. And now, as you rest here listening, hear this gently. Progress isn't loud. Confidence isn't sudden. Transformation isn't dramatic. It begins softly, in tiny shifts, quiet breaths, small victories. You don't force it. You don't chase it. You allow it, night by night, day by day, just like Emma. And soon, this story will continue. With another journey, one that begins far away, with someone else who thought fluency was out of reach. But not tonight. Not yet. For now, breathe a little softer. Settle a little deeper. Let your thoughts float like clouds in a still night sky. Your mind is learning. Your brain is listening. And everything is unfolding as it should. Sleep deeper. Rest gently. You are doing enough. Emma slept peacefully that night, the gentle rhythm of a calm English voice drifting through the room. And as she rested, as her breathing deepened and her thoughts softened, her story quietly ended its chapter. But somewhere else, far away, another story was just beginning. It belonged to someone who also carried quiet ambition, quiet doubt, and a quiet dream he almost abandoned. His name was Marcus. Marcus lived in a warm, busy city by the ocean, where streets buzzed with motorcycles and late-night laughter, and where evening air always tasted faintly of salt. He worked in a marketing agency, a small one, tucked inside an old building with tall windows and flickering lights. He was creative, smart, thoughtful, someone who saw connections others missed. But despite his talent, Marcus felt like he was always one tiny step away from the future he wanted. The agency had begun working with clients from abroad, companies from New York, Chicago, Toronto. Meetings in English, emails in English, client calls, presentations, proposals, all in English. And Marcus understood English. He could read. He could write. But when he tried to speak, something inside him tightened. Not his tongue, his confidence. Words floated, but they didn't land. Ideas formed, but they didn't arrive in time. His brain raced, but his mouth lagged behind, and each time he hesitated, someone else spoke first. Each time he stayed quiet, someone else got picked. And each time his ideas remained unspoken, someone else received the praise. One evening, after a long day, Marcus stayed late at the office. The room was quiet, only the hum of the lights and the distant sound of cleaners moving down the hallway. He sat staring at his computer screen, exhausted. Not physically and mentally, tired of almost succeeding, tired of nearly being chosen, tired of being the person with ideas but not the voice to share them. Tomorrow there would be a big client meeting, a chance to present fresh strategy ideas he had worked on himself. But the presentation would be given by someone else, someone less experienced, less creative, but more confident in English. Marcus leaned back in his chair, feeling a dull ache of frustration. He whispered to himself, barely audible. If only speaking felt as natural as thinking. He gathered his things slowly, walked home through warm evening streets, and tried to push the disappointment away. That night, lying in bed, Marcus stared at the ceiling. Quiet. Still. Disconnected from sleep. He scrolled through his phone, half idly, half hopelessly searching for help. For answers. For something he hadn't tried yet. He didn't want to start another course. He didn't want more grammar videos. He was tired of trying to push learning into the only hours he wasn't already working. Then, almost by accident, he came across a simple phrase someone had written. Let English live in your ears while you rest. He blinked at it. Strange idea. Unexpected. Soft. Not demanding. Just present. He searched further. He read quietly about how the brain continues processing language during sleep. How exposure could slowly, gently build familiarity. Not dramatic improvement, but subtle ease. He didn't fully believe it. But he also wasn't hoping for miracles. He simply wanted the language to feel less heavy, less distant, less intimidating. So Marcus opened a calm English podcast about marketing. A slow, warm voice explaining campaigns, strategy, creativity. He placed his phone beside his bed, adjusted the volume until it became a soft whisper, closed his eyes, and let the voice drift through his mind. It felt strange at first, unusual, like inviting a quiet guest into his dreams. But after a few minutes, his breathing softened. His thoughts slowed, and he drifted into sleep, with English flowing gently through the night around him. Days passed, then a week, then two. Nothing dramatic happened. No sudden fluency, no overnight transformation, but small things began to shift, quietly, unnoticed at first. During a meeting, someone used a phrase Marcus had heard in his sleep audio, and he understood it instantly, without translating. During a brainstorming session, he found himself thinking of an idea in English first, not his native language. Small changes. Soft changes, like tiny lights slowly appearing in a dark room. One morning, the team discussed influencer strategy. Someone proposed working with large creators, and without hesitation, without fear, without overthinking, Marcus spoke. Maybe we should consider smaller creators too. Micro-influencers tend to feel more authentic and often have higher engagement. The room paused. His voice sounded calm, natural, not rehearsed, simply ready. His manager looked at him with genuine interest. That's a great point, she said. Can you prepare a slide for the client meeting? Marcus nodded slowly. Yes, I can. After the meeting, he sat at his desk for a moment, stunned. Not at what he had said, but at how he had said it. He didn't freeze. He didn't overthink. He didn't question himself. The words were there when he reached for them. That evening, walking home under streetlights glowing gold against the night, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, quiet hope. Weeks rolled by. He kept listening every night. Not obsessively or gently. Not forcing, allowing. And then one day, his manager stopped by his desk. Marcus, she said warmly, I want you to present the influencer strategy to the client tomorrow. He froze for a moment out of habit, then felt that habit soften and dissolve like mist in sunlight. I'll do it, he said simply. That night, he didn't study intensely. He didn't panic. He didn't rehearse until exhaustion. He just listened to English while he slept, like every night before, soft, calm, familiar. And when the meeting arrived, Marcus spoke clearly. Not perfectly, but confidently. His ideas flowed. His voice held steady. He responded to questions without fear. And when the call ended, the client smiled and said, We'd like Marcus to lead this campaign moving forward. He didn't celebrate loudly. He didn't jump or shout. He just closed his laptop slowly, placed his hands on the desk, and breathed out, a long, steady breath of relief and quiet pride. He wasn't fluent overnight. He wasn't finished learning, but he had crossed a bridge inside himself, from doubt to possibility, from hesitation to presence, from silence to expression, and it started in the quiet hours, in the softness of sleep, in the gentle decision to let English live beside him instead of fight him. Now as you listen, notice your breath again. Notice how your mind drifts gently, without effort. The story continues and your awareness can float softly with it, or drift into rest. Both are welcome. Both are learning. Both are enough. Soon another story will unfold. A new voice, a new path, a new gentle transformation. But right now, you can simply rest here, settling deeper, breathing slower, letting English sound familiar in your ears, peaceful in your thoughts, and natural in your dreams. There is no rush. There is no pressure. There is only quiet progress, night after night, breath after breath, moment by moment. You are learning even now. Just like Marcus, just like Emma, softly, slowly, steadily. Rest deeper. You are doing perfectly. Somewhere far from the warm coasts where Marcus walked, across oceans and mountains and quiet stretches of sky, another person stared at a glowing computer screen late at night. Her name was Yuki. Yuki lived in a calm, tidy apartment on the 9th floor of a quiet building. Outside her window, the city lights flickered like distant stars. Inside, her desk glowed with code, diagrams, and half-empty teacups, silent evidence of long nights and careful thinking. She was a software engineer, precise, focused, patient. Her mind moved like a careful machine, analyzing, building, improving. In code, she expressed herself beautifully. In English, she felt trapped in silence. Her company had recently been acquired by a large international tech firm. Suddenly, meetings shifted to English. Daily syncs, sprint reviews, architecture discussions, problem-solving calls with engineers from the US and Europe. Yuki understood the words most of the time. But understanding is not the same as participating. Her thoughts were clear in her mind, but English turned them into fog. She would open her mouth, ready to speak, and sentences dissolved. Timing slipped. Her voice retreated. The moment passed. Colleagues spoke quickly, casually, comfortably. They joked. They debated. They misunderstood things and corrected them easily. Yuki stayed quiet, watching, translating, wishing she could enter the flow. One day, after a meeting where she said nothing, though she knew the answer to 2 problems discussed, her manager approached her gently. "You have so much to offer," he said. "I want the team to hear you." It wasn't pressure. It wasn't scolding. It was an invitation, but to Yuki it felt heavy. She nodded politely, but her heart was heavy as she walked home. She knew the solution. She needed speaking practice. More listening. More exposure. Class after class after class. But she had already tried those. And after a full day of mental work, she had no strength left for more structured effort. She was tired. Not of English. Of struggling alone inside her thoughts. That night, she sat at her low dining table, sipping warm tea, staring at her screen. She searched quietly, calmly, deliberately, like she always did. How to think in English without forcing it, how to improve English when tired from work, what to do if my brain freezes, speaking English. Suggestions appeared. Some familiar, some cliché. Then she saw something subtle. A forum post, not flashy, just a quiet comment. "I listen to English while I sleep. It's not a miracle, but it helps me feel like English belongs to me." She paused. Not convinced, but curious, she searched further. Found studies about sleep and auditory processing. Nothing dramatic, but consistent themes. Language rhythm seeps in slowly. Pronunciation patterns become familiar. Anxiety lowers with passive exposure. The brain learns quietly while resting. Yuki closed her laptop softly, like handling a delicate idea. She prepared for bed, placed her phone near her pillow, and chose a calm English audio track, a simple explanation of software concepts in slow, friendly tone, authentication, systems, interfaces, error handling, APIs, small pieces of her world but spoken gently, like they were being introduced to her mind instead of demanded from it. She lowered the volume until it was barely there, a soft hum of meaning beneath the surface. She lay down, closed her eyes. listened to one sentence, then another, and slowly she drifted into sleep, the English voice dissolving into dreams. In the morning, nothing felt different. And yet, something felt lighter, not improvement, ease. She didn't expect results. She didn't chase them. She simply repeated the routine the next night. And the next, 1 week, 2, 3. During the day, she worked as always, neat code, thoughtful logic, reliable results. But English felt a little less tall, a little less intimidating. And then, during a morning meeting, as teammates discussed a small bug, someone said, "I think the latency is because of the database. Maybe we need caching." Yuki listened, thought, and without planning, without fear, her voice appeared. "The issue is not latency. The authentication token expires too early. If we refresh it before the request completes, the error will disappear." The room fell quiet, only for a moment, and then someone said, "Oh, yes. That makes sense. Good catch." She didn't feel triumphant. She felt calm. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't shake. She didn't second-guess herself. It was a single moment, small, subtle, unannounced. But in that moment, she crossed a quiet threshold inside herself. Not fluency. Permission. Permission to speak. Permission to belong. Weeks passed. Her nightly routine became ritual. Warm tea. Dim light. Slow breath. Soft English in the background. Sleep. Not forced learning. Gentle companionship with the language. Slowly, English stopped feeling like a test. It began to feel like a sound she lived alongside. Like rain outside a window. Comforting. Natural. Shared with others who once felt alone in it. One evening, she joined a design discussion call with a team overseas. She listened, understood more than usual, and when she spoke, her voice didn't hesitate. She suggested a new workflow, offered an improvement, asked a question, not perfectly, not eloquently, just present. When the call ended, an engineer from another country messaged her privately, "Thank you for speaking today. You explained your points very well." It was simple feedback, nothing dramatic. But to Yuki, it felt like a hand reaching across the world, saying, "You are understood. You are part of this." Gradually, as weeks became months, her voice grew steadier. Her thoughts traveled a shorter distance to her lips. Silence stopped feeling like safety. It became a choice she no longer needed. Her code didn't change. Her courage did. Her English didn't become perfect. It became available. Her voice didn't become loud. It became hers. And now, as you rest here, breathing softly, eyes heavy, thoughts drifting, you might feel something similar, not sudden fluency, not pressure, not expectation, just ease, just presence, just the sound of English becoming familiar in your mind's quiet spaces. Every breath you take while listening, every moment you spend in calm exposure, every night you welcome English into your dreams. You are learning, not loudly, not quickly, not aggressively, but gently, consistently, like rain smoothing stone. Like seeds growing roots in the dark. You don't have to try. You don't have to force. You just allow, and your mind, in its quiet intelligence, does the rest. Rest now. Breathe softly. Float between awareness and dream. You are not falling behind. You are not late. You are becoming. Slowly, beautifully, quietly. And soon another life will open before you. Another story, another learner, another gentle transformation. But for now, just breathe, just listen, just rest. Far from city skylines and glowing office screens, in a coastal town where sunlight touched the streets like warm honey, lived a man named Carlos. Carlos managed a small boutique hotel, a charming place with sea blue shutters, jasmine climbing the walls, and a front desk that smelled faintly of fresh coffee every morning. Guests loved the hotel. They loved the warmth. They loved the view of the sea at sunrise. And they loved Carlos, not because he was perfect, but because he cared. He cared when guests looked lost. He cared when they returned from dinner smiling or disappointed. He cared when a long-traveled family arrived, tired and hungry. He cared because hospitality, to him, was not a job. It was a way of being. He welcomed everyone with warmth. But there was one thing he wished he could do better. He wished he could speak English with confidence. Most of his guests were from abroad, Germany, Canada, Korea, the UK, the United States. He could handle check-ins, directions, simple questions. But when guests wanted deeper conversation, stories, recommendations, friendly connection, he felt something tighten inside. He could picture the words in his mind, but they refused to line up when spoken. He felt like he was offering only a small part of himself to the world, and he wanted to offer all of it. At 52, he often thought, maybe I am too old to improve now. Maybe language belongs to the young. Maybe fluency has passed me by like summer wind. He never complained aloud. But every time a guest laughed and shared stories with someone else, he felt a tiny ache. Not jealousy, but longing. He wanted to speak. He wanted to belong. He wanted to connect. One quiet night, after locking the lobby and turning off the warm lamps, Carlos sat alone at the reception desk. The sea outside whispered against the shore. A ceiling fan hummed above him softly. He opened his phone and searched, "Can adults still improve English after 50?" He expected discouragement. Instead, he found hope, a small article about the brain's ability to adapt at any age. A quiet comment about learning without pushing. A line written simply, "Let language become the background of your rest." He paused. He read it again. It felt gentle, not a demand, but an invitation. That night, Carlos placed his phone beside his bed. He found a slow, calming English audio, stories about travel, culture, kindness, spoken softly, like someone reading beside a fireplace. He lowered the volume until it felt like a whisper floating through candlelight. Then he lay down, breathed deeply, and allowed the voice to drift through his thoughts. The sea outside was calm, the night air warm, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't fall asleep worrying about English. He simply rested with it. Days passed, then weeks. Carlos continued his quiet routine. Every night, soft English flowed through his room. Some nights he heard it, some nights he didn't. No pressure, no expectation, just gentle exposure. At first, nothing changed, but then a tiny moment arrived. An American couple checked in one afternoon, tired from travel. They asked, "Where can we find good seafood here?" Something authentic. Normally, Carlos might give a simple answer, "Restaurant nearby, good fish." "You try." But this time, without thinking, without fear, he said softly, "There is a beautiful place by the water. 15 minutes walking. Very fresh fish caught this morning. If you go around sunset, the breeze is wonderful. Tell them the manager sent you. They will take good care of you." The couple smiled, warm, delighted, surprised. "That sounds perfect." "Thank you. Your English is great." Carlos froze for a second, not because he doubted himself, but because something inside him relaxed, like an invisible knot unwinding. He didn't panic. He didn't rehearse. The words simply came. Later that evening, as he wiped down the counter and watered the jasmine plants near the door, he replayed the moment quietly in his mind. It felt light, natural, true. Over the next month, more small victories came. A guest asked about local history, and Carlos shared a short story about the old lighthouse. Another asked where to find live music, and he described a hidden alley where guitarists played soft folk songs beneath lanterns. Guests listened. They smiled. They thanked him, and each time, Carlos felt the world open just a little more. He didn't feel rushed. He didn't feel judged. He didn't feel trapped in silence, little by little. Conversation became companionship instead of struggle. One afternoon, as Carlos arranged keys behind the counter, his boss approached him. "You know," she said with a soft smile, "guests keep mentioning you. They write in reviews, glowing comments. They say you make them feel welcomed, understood, connected." Carlos looked down, embarrassed and proud at the same time. "You've always been good with people," she continued, "but lately, you seem more confident, more expressive. It's wonderful to see." He didn't know how to respond, so he simply smiled and nodded. That night when he went home, he sat by his small balcony, listening to the ocean whisper below. And he realized something. English no longer felt like a mountain. It felt like a path, one he could walk at his own pace, quietly, steadily, gently, not fluent, not perfect, just comfortable. And comfort grows into courage. Carlos never made a big announcement about his progress. He never bragged. He never forced himself to study for hours. He simply listened while he rested. He allowed learning to drift into him like evening breeze, and slowly, the language that once felt distant began to feel like a friend. Soft, familiar, patient. Night after night. Breath after breath, a gentle companionship with English. And now, as you lie here listening, your breath slow, your eyes soft, your mind drifting. You can rest in the same truth. Language does not demand force. Confidence does not require pressure. Progress is not loud, it is quiet. It is subtle. It is happening even now. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are growing, calmly, slowly, beautifully, just like Carlos. Just like so many others. You don't have to feel the change for it to be real. Sometimes growth whispers long before it speaks. So breathe, relax. Let English float softly around you like warm evening air against the ocean. Nothing to prove, nothing to chase. Just gentle becoming. A new chapter waits. Another quiet story, but not yet. For now, rest in this stillness. Let the night hold you. Let the words cradle you. Let your mind drift like a boat on calm water at dawn. You are learning. You are resting. You are enough. Far from the ocean where Carlos lived and far from the glowing screens of Yuki's world, in a quiet town filled with laughter of children and the gentle ring of school bells, lived someone whose life revolved around tiny shoes, bright crayons, and curious young minds. Her name was Maria. Maria was a teacher, the kind children remembered years later. She spoke softly, listened fully, believed deeply in the quiet potential of every student who sat before her, small backpacks at their feet, eyes full of possibility. Her classroom was full of color. Paper stars hung from the ceiling. Drawings of smiling suns covered the walls. Books sat neatly in soft baskets, waiting to be chosen by small, eager hands. Maria loved her students. She loved the magic of learning and the moment a child suddenly understood something, and their face lit up like morning light. But there was one thing she felt unsure about. Her school joined an international exchange program with teachers from another country. They would share ideas, observe each other's classrooms, and present teaching methods in English. Maria knew English, enough to read articles, enough to have small conversations. But speaking in front of other educators, presenting ideas, answering questions in a foreign language, she felt her breath tighten just thinking about it. Her heart fluttered with anxiety. She worried not about grammar, but about belonging. Would her idea sound simple? Would her voice tremble? Would her message get lost behind fear? One evening, after a long day of cutting paper stars with her students and helping them practice gentle vowels, Maria sat at her small wooden desk at home. A cup of tea warmed her hands. The sun outside softened into orange and then into blue. She reread the email confirming her participation in the exchange program. Her stomach fluttered again, a mix of pride and fear. She whispered quietly into her empty room, "I hope I can do this." She did not want perfection. She wanted presence. She wanted to share her passion without fear holding her mouth closed. She researched ways to build confidence, public speaking tips, breathing exercises, language practice techniques. And then she came across something simple. A soft suggestion someone had written. Record yourself speaking. Then listen to it as you sleep. Not for memorization, not for pressure, for familiarity. So her voice, her English voice, could become a friend instead of a stranger. Maria paused. It sounded gentle, kind, possible. That night she sat at her desk with her notebook and began reading her presentation aloud. Slow, steady, warm, just like she spoke to her students. She pressed record. Her voice filled the room, soft but sincere. She talked about patience in learning, about encouraging curiosity, not memorization, about helping children feel safe to make mistakes, because mistakes are simply stepping stones hidden inside progress. When she finished recording, her heart felt full. Not confident, but hopeful. She placed her phone beside her bed, lowered the volume, and let her own voice, gentle, calming, familiar, float into the quiet darkness as she slept. Morning came. Nothing dramatic happened. She taught her students, sang songs with them, tied tiny shoelaces and wiped tiny tears. But that night she listened again. And the next night. And the next, a quiet ritual. Not homework, not stress, just a soft whispering into her dreams. You can speak. You can share. You can belong in every room you enter. Slowly, the fear in her mind loosened its grip. A little each night, gently, like frost melting under sunrise. Soon, she noticed something. She no longer hesitated when speaking in small English conversations online. She didn't rush. She didn't apologize for mistakes. She simply spoke. Her voice grew steady, not loud, but steady. And steady voices change worlds quietly. Finally, the day arrived. Her trip to meet teachers from abroad. She packed lesson plans, handmade crafts, children's drawings, and a small notebook filled with gentle reminders she had written to herself. Breathe slowly. Speak softly. Kindness is a universal language. Your voice matters. When she arrived in the new country, everything felt different. The air, the rhythm of speech, the way people greeted one another. She felt small, but also curious. On presentation day, she stood before a room full of educators, warm faces, curious eyes. She felt her heartbeat quicken. For a moment, she thought fear might return. But then something happened. She heard a familiar voice in her mind. Her own voice. The one that had whispered to her night after night while she slept. You are ready. You know what to say. Your voice is welcome here. And then she spoke, not fast, not flawless, but gently, clearly, confidently. She talked about children who learn at different paces, about celebrating effort, not just results, about creating safe spaces where mistakes are seen as growth, about patience, the quiet miracle that builds confidence drop by drop. Her words flowed like warm tea poured slowly into a cup. Calm, comforting, real. When she finished, the room was silent, not from confusion, but from connection. Then someone smiled. Then another. Then soft applause filled the room, warm and sincere. A teacher approached her afterward and said, "Your methods are beautiful. And your English is so clear and gentle. I learned a lot." Maria felt her eyes soften, her chest expand, her shoulders loosen. Not because someone praised her, but because she had spoken as herself. And she was heard. She returned home changed, not louder, not bolder, but steadier. She continued listening to English at night, not because she had to, but because it felt peaceful, like a lullaby for her future self. And in her classroom, when a child hesitated to speak, she knelt beside them and whispered, "Take your time. Your voice is growing. It doesn't have to be perfect, just true," because she knew firsthand that voices can bloom quietly, in the dark, in rest, in small, gentle moments when no one is watching, and sometimes the softest growth becomes the strongest confidence. Now, as you listen here, resting, breathing slowly, mind floating peacefully, you might feel what Maria felt, a quiet shift, a subtle opening, a gentle belief that your voice, too, can grow in calmness, not pressure. You don't need loud motivation. You don't need to force anything. You don't need intensity to improve. You just need presence, patience, and a heart that continues softly, night after night. Learning is not a race. It is a garden. Your English is growing like seeds in moonlight, quietly, beautifully, invisibly at first. You are changing even now. Not because you fight for it, but because you make space for it. Rest deeper. Breathe slower. Let this story settle like soft earth over roots that are quietly strengthening. Your voice will come. Your confidence will come. Your words will find you, just like Maria's did. Gently, beautifully, one peaceful night at a time. Night settles again. Not long ago, you heard about people just like you. People who struggled quietly, improved quietly, and transformed quietly. Emma, Marcus, Yuki, Carlos, Maria, different lives, different countries, different dreams, yet they all discovered something simple, something rarely shouted or advertised. Consistency is gentle power. Repetition is silent strength. Exposure is nourishment for the mind. They didn't force fluency. They didn't chase perfection. They didn't demand speed. They just listened. Night after night, patiently, calmly, without drama, and just like seeds resting under soft soil, their progress grew in silence. Now, it's your turn to rest the same way. You are not studying right now. You are not practicing. You are not performing. You are not trying. You are simply allowing English to move around you like warm air, allowing rhythm to drift in, allowing patterns to soak into the gentle spaces of your mind. This is effortless learning. Pressure-free progress. A quiet path forward. Nothing to force. Nothing to rush. Nothing to worry about. Just breathing. Just resting. Just becoming. Imagine this. Somewhere inside your mind, there is a small, glowing room. Peaceful, warm, safe. This is where language grows now. Not in stress, not in effort. In rest, words drift into that room like soft light. They don't ask for attention. They don't demand you remember them. They simply settle, comfortably, like feathers falling gently to the ground. You don't need to grab them. Your brain knows what to do. Your subconscious is processing even as you relax. Even now, pathways are being strengthened. Sounds are becoming familiar. Rhythms are weaving into your mind. You are not learning English. You are absorbing English. There is a difference. One is effort. The other is experience. Tonight, you experience. Picture yourself months from now, speaking more smoothly, understanding more easily, thinking in English without pushing, not perfectly, not dramatically, just naturally. That future version of you exists already. You are walking toward them every night you rest like this. Every gentle whisper of English, every calm repetition, every night you allow exposure without pressure. You are writing your own quiet success story, just like they did, just like countless others will. And right now, the most powerful thing you can do for your language journey is exactly what you're doing, resting while surrounded by language. No guilt, no strain, no rush, just trust. Your mind is clever. Your subconscious listens even when you sleep. It learns without asking for permission. Let it work for you. In a few moments, the narration will soften even more, slowing down, drifting like a calm tide, gently carrying you into deeper rest. Thoughts will loosen, breath will ease, awareness will blur into dreams, and while you sleep, English will become a quiet companion walking beside you, not pushing, not pulling, just being there. The same way sunrise arrives with no effort, your progress will unfold softly. Night is not empty. Night is not passive. Night is not wasted. Night is nourishment. Night is integration. Night is silent growth. Your brain is still listening, still learning, still expanding. You are already doing enough. You are already becoming. So breathe slow now, in and out. Let shoulders loosen. Let jaw soften. Let mind float. You earned rest. You deserve rest. Rest itself is progress. Tonight, English is not a task, not a goal, not a challenge. Tonight, English is a sound, a soft current flowing gently through your dreams. And you? You are safe. You are calm. You are drifting. Let go of today. Tomorrow will come gently. And you will wake a little more comfortable in English than before. Not because you tried, but because you trusted. Sleep now. The language is settling. Your confidence is growing. Your voice is preparing quietly, and you are resting into fluency, drifting into ease, becoming effortlessly. Good night. Rest deeply. You are learning, softly, beautifully, silently.